What's going on, fam? Welcome to the Adonime podcast, where we watch anime with the redemptive eyes of a Christian believer. My name is Manny, and today we're going to be doing something special. We're going to be starting a new section or series, I guess we'd call it, of this show. I know that I am usually only doing anime, but I actually want to dive into manga now. So I want to dive into the newer mangas that are coming out, and I want to review them, right? At least review the first volume of them, not the whole manga, right? So that can differ with the manga. It can be many different chapters for one volume, right? And I think it gives a lot, or at least enough information about the anime that can help us to give it a pretty decent review, at least for where it's going, more or less, right? So today I want to do a volume 1 review of the manga called Miss Savage Fang. The strongest mercenary in history is reincarnated as an unstoppable noble woman. That's a very wild name to start with. But so I'm gonna be doing the Christian guide for this anime. Then I'm gonna be going over the biblical. Oh, sorry, not anime, manga. See, I'm already used to it. So I'm gonna be doing the Christian guide for this manga, right? And then I'm gonna be sharing biblical points and then negative points, and then I'm gonna be giving it a final ranking between 1 and 10 of not necessarily how good it is, but how many biblical values that we can find in this manga, right? So if it has little to no good values that we can learn from this, then it's going to have a very low score. If it has lots of great values that we can learn from it, then it's going to have a very high score. So I'm going to share some information about the manga. This manga falls under the subgenres of action, fantasy, reincarnation, school, and seinen. And this anime was released April 26, 2022, and is still ongoing now, but it's actually become pretty popular since then. And so I'm going to share the synopsis of this manga, and it goes like this. The ruthless queen, Mylene, a woman chosen by God and born with unrivaled magic power, stood deposed. The rebellion's success was owed to none other than fabled mercenary Envil, the Savage Fang. But an ambush during their hour of victory left little time to celebrate. As he took his last breath, Envil could have died content watching the tyrant queen's lifeless corpse sway from the gallows, until he wakes up as her several years in the past. Now the mercenary of legend has a princess's body, more magic than anyone can fathom, and a burning desire to make sure things go differently this time. So it has a pretty interesting plot, and let's go over the Christian guide real quick. So the first one is sex and nudity. So this manga has some partial nudity. It's not explicit, so there are no details. There are some parts where there is some grabbing of the breasts, and it's like teasing. It's not like super sexual or anything. And there is some conversation about the act of sex. So definitely something to watch out for. That's it's not as bad as it could be, but it's still pretty bad. So the next one, with violence and gore, there's a lot of bloody scenes. Okay, there's a lot of sword fighting and slicing, and there's decapitations. Like it's pretty bad. There's a lot of war. There's a hanging. Okay, so it can get pretty bad. In regards to profanity, there's lots of very strong profanity, like very bad F-bombs, B-bombs, all of it, and it's pretty freaking. Like it's a lot. And the next one with drugs and alcohol, there's a lot of drinking, a lot of getting drunk, and that's not good. We've had that conversation many times. Drinking alcohol is not a sin, but getting drunk is a sin. Okay. And then the last one, scary scenes. Yeah, it's not really scary. It's just there's some really intense battle scenes that are in the manga. Okay, but it's not scary. So biblical points. Okay, I only have one. So the one biblical point that I have is that Mylene, right? In the beginning, Mylene committed atrocities and she was ruthless with no compassion for anyone. And because of this, the people wanted justice, right? So it shows a depiction of people who recognize a bad queen, and recognize evil, and they want justice for that. They're striving for a better tomorrow. They're striving for a better government, right? And those things are biblical, right? Fighting for righteousness' sake, for righteousness, and rejecting the evil, trying to find a solution to the situation, to evil, right? I think that's very biblical. And I know it's not like a spectacular biblical point, but I actually tried to bring a biblical point on the table for this one, and it was very difficult. So those were my biblical points. I hope you enjoyed them, because yeah, buckle up. It's about to get intense with this next part. So negative points. Okay. So the first negative point is reincarnation. Okay. Reincarnation is actually uh, a belief. So some Japanese people actually believe this. Well, not just Japanese, but I'm saying Japanese because this is Japanese manga, right? But this is actually part of the beliefs that some people over there believe in, that once you die, you'll be reincarnated as either another person or um, an animal. So that's actually a normal thing to think about or to believe in over there. And I believe a lot of them are Buddhists. I think that's a big influence on that belief. But we have to understand that that's not biblical, right? That's not Reincarnation is not what happens to us after we die. After we die, we either we all face God, right, for everything that we've done, and then it's either, if we put our faith in Jesus, then we live in eternity in God's new kingdom that He's going to establish here on the earth, or you if you don't put your faith in Jesus, and there is no forgiveness of your sin because you don't put your faith in Jesus, then there is no eternity for you. There's only hell. Okay. And it's not, we don't go to hell because we deny God or we deny Jesus. We go to hell because we have a disease. We have a disease called sin. Okay. And if we have to find a solution for that disease that we have. We don't die because we didn't go to the doctor. We die because we have a disease, right? So because we have a disease, we have to go to the doctor, right? We have to go to the doctor to get that treated. We have to get the disease treated, because with that disease, we die like an eternal death, dead. Okay. That's why we have to come to Jesus, because he is the solution. Jesus is the solution, right? So just wanted to make sure that we understood that reincarnation is not biblical. Okay. Another negative point that I saw is there are cult people in the kingdom, right, that pray to a god called Diamilus. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that incorrectly. And they're praying for the death of the queen. Okay. And obviously there are some people looking at these people like they're crazy. Like these people are out of their minds, right? And I wanted to point out that praying for someone's death is not biblical. That's not right. Okay. The Bible says pray for your enemies. Okay. So because there are people who in this life, right? We have enemies, quote unquote. We have to pray for them because there's still a possibility that they can be redeemed, right? So if we have that hope, or we have that heart of praying for them and hoping for redemption, that would be much better than the death of that person. Okay? So in this sense, they were not praying for the queen's redemption, the evil queen. They were praying for her death. Okay? They were praying for, in a sense, they were praying for justice, but they were doing it incorrectly. They weren't doing it with the heart of God. Okay? And I wanted to point that out just so that we're clear on that. And obviously, this God, the Amilus, is not the God of the scriptures. Okay, so this is a false God, and has no power whatsoever. It's just an idol. Another negative point that I wanted to bring up is that this manga, the God in this manga, is seen as a villain. Okay, so so they don't have the God of the scriptures. They're not going to mention the God of the scriptures. So they're going to make up their own God for this story, right? But this God is depicted as a villain, as a bad God, a God that doesn't care, a God that there is no history of this God being good. Okay? It's just a belief in something that isn't alive, right? So because he isn't alive, they have no answers to anything. That's a big difference with us as believers. We do have answers because God has revealed himself in the scriptures. God has revealed not all the things he's done, but a lot of the things that he's done for us to put our faith in him, right? And so another negative point that I saw was uh, Prince Albert, right? So this story with Savage Fang dying, being reincarnated as the queen years before she became queen. There's this prince that the queen or the princess ends up marrying, and then he just ends up being like a pushover and lets her do all this evil and all this stuff, right? So when Savage Fang is being introduced to Prince Albert, right, for the first time before they get married and all this stuff, Prince Albert starts off honorable because he has a faith in God. Okay, if we can kind of, I mean, obviously the God isn't real, right? In this story, but at least he has some type of faith in spirituality that could be, I don't know. This is really complicated. Anyways, he has this faith in God, right? The God of the manga, and he's pretty honorable, and he desires peace, but he's way too naive, like horribly naive, right? So Savage Fang, who is now the princess, uh, now starts convincing him to abandon his faith in God because God is horrible, and he doesn't save, right? And he says he doesn't save because Savage Fang's experience. So he sees the queen getting hanged in the beginning, right? Right before he is reincarnated. And what happens is that the queen starts crying out to God to save her, but she gets hung anyways. So she does all this evil, right? And at her hanging, she's asking God to save her, and nothing happens. She ends up being hanged or being hung. So now that he's reincarnated as the queen or the princess, now Savage Fang is telling Prince Albert there is no God, because in his mind he's like, I experienced that hanging and it was fake. Like there's nothing to it. There is no God, right? And he tells him that faith in yourself gets things done. Okay. And that God is a God who refuses to be seen, doesn't show himself. Okay. So there are some things that he's saying that's correct, because this is a false God, right? This is a false God. Now, if some people end up, and this is what's most likely gonna happen, is that some people might see this and relate it to God in general, any God, and convince themselves that God refuses to be seen, that doesn't show himself, right? But this is so not true. Okay. In the real life, in the real world, okay, there are so many, the amount of testimony, stories, evidence of God, of the things that he has done, of how perfect his word, his Bible is, how everything connects together, how such a big book over hundreds and thousands of years can all connect. Like, it has to be God. And the Bible also says that we have no excuse. Humans have no excuse to believe in God. Why? Because there is no way that you can see the skies and creation, nature, the sea. There's no way that you can see all of that and not believe in God. You have no excuse. You have to believe that there is a God. And if you say there is no God, you're lying. You're lying to yourself, right? That's what the Bible says. And the Bible teaches us that we have no excuse, right? So, some people might actually believe that God refuses to be seen, but that's not true. He makes himself known so vividly. It's just that we're so used to it that we don't see it, right? It's a horrible way to think about God, because it's not true. It's not biblical. And if you do the research and if you look for God, he's going to show himself to you in much more deeper ways. Like that's what God loves to do. He shows himself to you in a much deeper way that you have to know, okay, only God can do this, right? Which is why I always encourage you, go to God and ask him to show himself to you. I always encourage people to do that. So another negative point that I also saw, and it's more like what might happen. But towards the end, there's a friendship between Savage Fang, who was the princess, and a queen of, or princess of, another empire, or another kingdom, and they start becoming friends. But this queen or princess starts like being a little too close to Savage Fang, and it's a little uncomfortable, and it makes me feel like, oh man, what if they go towards like a relationship between these two? I don't know if they're gonna do that. Again, Savage Fang is a man in a woman's body, right? In a princess's body. It's just weird. It's weird. It's too weird. So I don't see any way of redeeming this. I think this is going way left, like left field. Like it's going down a path that I cannot follow. Okay. All of this in the first volume. Okay. So with this first volume, I don't have good hopes for this manga. I really don't. And there were some small good things, but um I'm sorry, one small good thing, and it wasn't even that good. Like, No, honestly, that has way too many negative points. It's way too unbiblical. It can really give a false sense of or a false idea of God and justice, and that God doesn't answer prayers, and that um, God doesn't make himself known. No, 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 no. This is it's going towards a bad path, dark path. Okay. This is demonic, is what it is. Okay. So yeah, I'm really disappointed, honestly, with this anime. I'm super disappointed. There's no good values that I can find in it. Nothing. And because of that, I have to give that manga a ranking of 1 out of 10. Okay. It's really disappointing. This, for the first manga, I was really excited to start the series, and it just turns out to be pretty bad. But yeah, if you were considering watching or reading this, I don't recommend it at all whatsoever. Look for something else. So yeah, that's all I got, guys. Let me know, leave me a comment if you guys liked it, enjoyed it, agreed. And make sure to follow us on Instagram at Adonime Podcast. And that's it. Love y'all. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.